The United Nations has called for a ceasefire as at least 32 people have been killed in Libya amid clashes between rival political groups. The violence started on Friday when armed militia fought in the capital Tripoli. Tensions between supporters of Fathi Bashagha and Abdul Hamid Dbeibeh have been mounting in recent months. Dbeibeh's administration was installed as part of a UN-led peace process after a landmark 2020 ceasefire. Libya has been plagued by political violence since the overthrow of its leader Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. Now for the latest, let's talk to Ahmed Abba, who's in Tripoli. Ahmed, good of you to join us. So tell us first what led to the current fighting.
Well, firstly, we have to go quickly through the background to understand the context in Libya. After the military attack that was by General Haftar from the East region over Tripoli, and after it has been failed, in 2020, United Nations facilitated a Libyan dialogue between political parties, resulted in appointing Abdul Hamid Dbeibeh on the head of the government just to lead Libya through an electoral process that should be implemented in 24 December 2021, which didn't happen because most of national and international political spoilers, they've created obstacles against elections because it just goes against their interest and their benefits. And unfortunately now we found ourselves in a very tough situation when it comes to the political scene. The past few months, the House of Representatives appointed Fathi Bashagha as a prime minister in a very arguably session that have been faced with many illegal accusations. Fathi Bashagha now, from the government of stabilization unity, trying to get the power and trying to overcome the government of GNU headed by Dbeibeh and take the power in Tripoli by force for several occasions. But last weekend, it was the last attempt that was implemented by armed group. They are loyal to GNS government and Fathi Bashagha, mainly the 777 Legion in the city center and other armed groups on the peripheral areas of Tripoli. Unfortunately, there was a lot of casualties among civilians. Over than 32 civilians were killed as a result from these attacks and these armed clashes. Also, over than 100 wounded person now. They are separated in the general hospitals in Tripoli. Since 5 o'clock a.m. today, all of the armed clashes they were stopped. Most of the armed groups now they are going through they are falling back from both sides. We see now more people. They are going out and trying to get the normal rhythm of the life. The war, we can say it finished. It was 24 hours war, but however, it has a very bad consequences on the civilians, on the general official entities and facilities in the city center, where the capital where the capital Tripoli possesses over than 80% of the main sovereign important entities and facilities of the Libyan country. Now we are facing a new stage that the GNS government and Fathi Bashagha in a very bad situation. They cannot go to Tripoli. They cannot overcome the GNU by power, and they cannot go to Tripoli by force. But we have to clarify something, that most of the armed groups that they were fighting against GNS government and Fathi Bashagha, they are not supporters of Dbeibeh, or they are not supporters of the GNU government. They are supporting the idea of going through election to democratic process, and they are against any concept or a political party trying to overcome Tripoli and take an authority by force.
All right, well, Ahmed, how do you expect this rivalry to sort itself out, how it will play out going forward?
Unfortunately, now we found ourselves with two choices, either the bad or the worse. The majority of Libyan people, they are not supporting Dbeibeh, the GNU government, or Fathi Bashagha, the GNS government. This political affiliation only affecting the Libyans in a very negative way. That's why most Libyans, they just want elections. Now we have to push nationally and internationally. The majority of the political spoilers, they have to understand the necessity of going through elections and a very integrated electoral process that could lead to initial stage of stabilization, which was the request of the majority of the Libyans. They just want the democratic transitional process to be implemented and success in the Libyan context. This is the only way and the only exit that we have now, because the GNU, it's a temporary interim government. The GNS also, it's an interim GNU government. We have to clarify, most of the armed group that they were supporting the capital and they are fighting against the GNS government and Fathi Bashaga, they are not pro Tbeiba and they are not pro the General United government, because it's an interim government. Everybody, they are sick of temporary interim governments and just unfortunately, and a very quick solutions that just could lead to more instability, to more uncertainty, especially in a very sensitive situation that Libya face and the world face now, regionally and internationally. So the only exit that could provide a very reasonable, wise solution to the Libyan crisis is now we need to push the political spoilers, nationally, internationally, to move forward through an election, through an electoral process that provide the maximum level of participation of all of the political parties, and just trying to transform this political fight from being on the ground by armed groups on the boxes by elections, by just the negotiations, by giving that chance to the people to say their mind and choose their own fate.